You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Man, we are here once again. Today, we have another amazing show lineup for y'all today. We're going to talk to a poet and author of The Golden Kite. She is an amazing author doing amazing things, but her name is Sandy Jarvis. And first and foremost, I want to welcome you to the show and say, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I want to thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, we appreciate you taking time on because you do a lot of great things for the community. You worked for New York Homeless Services and HIV/AIDS care for nearly 40 years. I mean, you are also a case manager specialist. First, kind of give the audience a little bit backdrop of your career and all the great things that prepared you for today. I
was raised and born in New York. I earned my bachelor's degree at Wilmington College in Ohio. I started in 78, employed working for DHS, in the shelters, Department of Homeless, and I worked as well as case manager specialist for HIV/AIDS care. Later on, 16 years before I retired. I retired in 2019, 1 month before COVID, actually. And, what happens, so often is that people have a misconception about the homeless population. At any time, you can be faced with a crisis, and no one is exempt from being homeless. And what happens is that people, they wait until the critical situation to get help. But right now, unemployment and medical issues are leaving adults without a place to stay. And they just don't have the funds to pay $2,000, $3,000 a month rent. And they wait to get help from social service because a lot of times they just think they're not going to qualify. And I have told my clients, so many times that there's other benefits you could qualify for. You still can receive income and get subsidized rent, or at least one-shot deal. There's other benefits that people are not aware that they're eligible for, or services, Catholic Charities and Volunteers of America, and Project Renewal Housing Works. They have rent-arrears programs that they could tap into. And they wait to the critical stage, as I said, to come in. And that's why a lot of them, they end up, in the shelter. And once you end up in the shelters, it's much harder, because you have more people that are homeless and, less apartments, especially affordable housing.
What are some of the resources that you come across that they desperately need outside of the typical, let me just give you some spare change or whatever? What are the core needs that people who face homelessness that they need so that they can turn the page and get their life back where they need it to be?
There's a lack of education about eligibility. They'll wait until their benefits expired, like unemployment, and or they use other resources, family members, and they wait until the time that it might be a little bit difficult, to help them. But a lot of times it's just they have the skills. Is that, they need compassion. That's one thing. They feel that they're going to be, misjudged, because a lot of times my clients would tell me, I'm not going to be on this, this long, they have worked all their life. So when they come in, to social service for help, it's, first of all, not judging them. Not to be judgmental, because at any time like I said, no one is, exempt from a crisis. I just don't try to, help them with financial assistance, but there's other, if they need referral to a job, that helps a lot, which, I would do. They might need, assistance with applying for SSI, Social Security. That's another thing. A lot of people, like we have HASA, a lot of clients who are HIV positive, they don't know that they're aware for the HASA program. And that's services by the state and the city that you're eligible not just for financial assistance, but Medicaid, food stamps, and DRE. DRE is another program. You're able to get your rent frozen. So there's a lot of resources out there, but I try more than anything to show compassion.
If someone listening to this right now, they happen to be in New York, if they know someone that might be going through that, but they haven't reached out for help themselves, what would you recommend that they attempt to do, whether it's, call a nonprofit or some kind of resource to help them kind of get the help that they need? What would you suggest be a good idea?
Well, like I said, Catholic charities is very helpful. Not only just providing assistance, and that's in all boroughs. Catholic charities, they're very well known, and they provide not only just help financially, but legal services. If you need clothing, if you need a place to stay. Another one is Housing Works. Housing Works is very good. If you're in New York, Housing Works is a good program, and they have emergency assistance with housing too. Like I was telling you, HASA, that's HIV/AIDS program. They provide supported housing, conjugate, a scatter site, and you could. If you're in New York, you just, it's on 34th Street and 8th Avenue. You walk in, and if you need a place to stay, not immediately you would get, supported housing, but they would place you in an SRO, and you would get immediate services like, Medicaid, cash benefits, and food stamps. It's so many, I could just go on. Volunteers of America, that's another program that's they provide the same services.
I appreciate that information. I think that's great for listeners just to know, just in case you or someone else may need it, you can point them in the right direction. And go into your books. All right. So you have The Golden Kite and you have King, Maestro, and Chuck. First and foremost, what inspired you to say, you know what, I want to tap into being a writer, man. Let's give this a shot. What inspired you to do that?
I'm laughing because I didn't set out to be a writer. I grew up very shy, and I'm still very shy now. And it was a way for me to communicate my thoughts on paper. And my mother, she encouraged me, because, I wrote a lot of poetry, to have my work published. But it just started out as a way for me just to put down my thoughts on feelings, because I was very shy and I didn't talk that much. And the things that I was going through, it just allowed me to, communicate a little better. And, my mother was, one thing about her, she was a single parent, and she encouraged me to, to publish my work. The first novel that was published was from Justin Don. That was in 98. And then I went on to write children's books.
And speaking of children's book, The Golden Kite, when it comes to the character, Benjamin, the rabbit, was that a real life person type story, or kind of touch on that with the audience with this character?
Well, I thought of my son when I was thinking about writing Benjamin, and, what happened, The Golden Kite deals with competition, and a lot of times children are motivated to win so much, they just lose sight of making the right choices. And Benjamin the rabbit, he learns that cheating can have the worst outcome. He's very excited about the science contest at Greenwood. And he works very hard on his science project, but when the day of the contest, when he gets to look at Lenny and the golden kite, he feels defeated. He wants to win, and he's determined that the only way in his mind that he can win is to cheat. And he sets out to eliminate Lenny is the bear and Albert Albert the pig from winning the gold medal. Of course, the golden kite is destroyed, and now Benjamin is he's giving the golden medal. I'm not going to tell the ending, but that Benjamin has to make a choice whether or not he's going to be honest or keep the gold medal.
If you want to know that, you have to go get the book right now on Amazon. It's real easy to find. Just type in The Golden Kite by Sandy Jarvis. You can find that easily. And when it comes to King Maestro and Chuck, touch with the audience a little bit about that book.
Well, it's on the same line. King Maestro and Chuck, it has to deal with a bird, and his name is Chip. And he lives on Paradise Island. He's the leader, and they depend on Chip. It's actually Chip. King Maestro, he's named that later once he comes to New York City. Mm-hmm. And he's kicked off Paradise Island for stealing. It's in the same line. And he stopped off, he don't want to go to New York by himself. He don't want to travel alone. So he stopped off a place, it's, where the animals live. It's called Flea Community. And they set off to New York, and they just get into all type of trouble. And they meet up with One-Eye Pete and his gang. And now they are so impressed with Chip that they name him King Maestro, because he could fly, so he could do a lot more things that they're not able to do, as far as stealing and getting things that they need. They want to get rid of Chuck because he's a nuisance. And he's more of he's a dog. He's a German Shepherd, but he's a coward. Until, like I said, you have to read the ending of the book.
And again, you can find that King Maestro and Chuck on Amazon. And yeah, once again, talking to Sandy Jarvis here on Refocus Radio. Someone listening right now, they're going to probably be like, okay, she's jumping to the writing career as an author. What have you learned so far being an author and the process that it takes to not just get your book written, edited, but finding a publisher and getting it out there for people to read it?
Well, the main thing that I have learned is that you have to pursue your dreams. It took me a while because when I set out to write my first children's novel, I was not encouraged. And I pitched my story to, friends of mine and family. And I was told that I should just give up the idea of writing that book. I regret that. And one thing I think that the audience need to know is that, you have to follow, your dream. And 2 years later, the same idea, that I didn't even give myself a chance. I didn't get professional feedback. I didn't even submit the manuscript and to be rejected. I just gave up. And I think that's the one thing that people need to know, is that to do not give up, do not be discouraged, keep going and follow your dream. That's why, it took me a long time, because, every time I wanted to do something, I would get negative feedback.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes that negative feedback can prevent a person from actually pursuing what they want to pursue. So, yeah, when you are Looking back, all the things that you've done for your community, working in New York and publishing these books, do you find yourself writing more books and coming up with more things that you want to put together and publish?
Yes, like I said, during the time I was working, I didn't have the time. And so now that I'm retired and, I actually miss my work because, being a case manager, one thing that I was, able to do, I learned a lot, from, my clients. You'd be surprised how patient they were and skillful, which people, I was reluctant to, when I was asked to work with the HIV AIDS community. At first I was reluctant, I was the same way. And to come to find out, people were just, not just talented, but I think that's happened with my, with my stories, with my book, a lot of them gave up hope. And, because they had been faced with, the mental ill, HIV. And so I learned a lot from the community and not how to judge. So that's one thing that I have learned. We do that so often. And that's helped me a lot with my writing.
Once again, listen to I'm Focus Radio talking to Sandy Jarvis. And like we mentioned before, you can get her books, man. They're both on Amazon. You cannot miss it. And have you had a situation when the naysayers who kind of told you to, forget about the idea of publishing your book or books, I should say, have those same people found out that you actually are doing it, you're making it happen, you're publishing your own books?
Yes.
What's their reaction now that you're doing it?
Because they said, "Oh, I told you so." They forgot. They forgot. You're the same person who told me not to publish the book. Now you go, "Oh, I know you can do that." So I'm laughing because a lot of them, they forgot. They were the same people that told me that, my book would not be published and that I'm not no Richard Wright. Wow. So I remember those days, but they said, "Oh no, I didn't tell you that. I didn't do that."
That's funny.
Yeah, it is funny, So no, they have not said, or they don't say anything at all. I have. You'd be surprised that friends I have known for years haven't even published a book. So that happens too. Whereas they don't say anything or they don't support you at all. They know you have a book out there and they don't even buy it. But so that happens.
And someone listening, how important is it for them to not worry about when certain people won't acknowledge their successes or appreciate what they have been, doing with their life? What would you say to that person so that they don't allow that to hinder whatever's next for them?
Still now I get advice from my mom. She's amazing, even with her dementia. And she had told me, "Hey, don't worry about it." That's what she said, just keep on moving and do what you got to do. And she tells me that, all the time when, I say, "Oh, Mom, I got on the show and I messed up." She said, "Oh, you'll do better next time. Don't worry about it." So it's short to the point, but it's true. Don't focus on the negative. You have to focus on the positive. And I would do that so often. I focus on, what people are going to say, what they think, and it's just negative energy. So focus on the positive things and support. And I do have a lot of support from people that encourage me, so and from the writing community. So that's you have to just focus your energy, in the right direction.
Once again, listen on Focus Radio talking to Sandy Jarvis. You can get her books. They are ready for you to get on Amazon, The Golden Kite and King Maestro and Chuck. You already got reviews on there. So you're already making progress and making things happen. What's next for you? Do you have any short-term goals that you want to accomplish in the near future?
I'm working on another children's book called Dolly the Singing Train, and I'm trying to work on my first suspense thriller. It's a little bit different. It's out of the box. It's so I'm learning those tools. It's not the same as writing a children's book, but that's where I always wanted to write a suspense story. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm at the learning stage.
Once again, I want to say thanks to our guest today, poet and author of The Golden Kite, King Maestro, and Chuck. And I want to say thank you for the services that you did for New York City homeless services and HIV/AIDS care for over 40 years. Now you're retired and you're publishing books. You're still kicking it. You're still making moves. Thank you for your time being on Army Focus Radio.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be on your show.